Hey there, everybody. Thanks for joining me for another one-man review. Today I'll be taking a look at two books by the same artist, Anuj Shrestha, I assume is the pronunciation of the name. These are both collections of things that are basically made for Instagram. So Anuj is an artist I've been following on Instagram, an illustrator who also obviously likes comics, but their comics are basically Instagram ready. So they're things that are meant to be consumed. These books are more like a collection of prints. Basically, the prints just happen to have a sequential element to them. They're all pretty like formally oriented, and by formally I don't mean comics formalism so much necessarily. Oh, to some extent, but I mean more in terms of just like formal elements and principles of art and design. So you just get things like this that you know this is a lucid dream, and it's up to you to make sense of how this relates to what's going on in the character's head, or things like this that are just kind of about faceless characters and lemmings, and you can kind of unpack the symbolism. They're very symbolic in that way, and they just kind of deal with cropping, your assumptions about things. Like if you don't see this panel, everyone's following along in a line, but they're not falling off a cliff. So just like how cropping in those things can matter. This one's really funny here. The story of Tumblr, where it's just like nudity and then someone gets pissed off and then the world blows up. I think that's funny. And then American tradition, have a baby, feed it, get married, blow shit up. So they're using symbolism in these very, very well made, like the negative space on this is so beautiful, like the rendering on everything's so beautiful. And then to have it printed in this format with the risograph printing and the really peculiar colors that come with risograph works very well. And they're all kind of these negative outlooks on like good run. You have the dinosaurs, the humans, the ice melts, and then just like nobody's there. Humanity had a good run. So there's a bit of like a bleak worldview in a lot of these, but they're really funny, really well illustrated. This is a beautiful cover here. That's a piece on the inside as well. I think this one, even though it's way less narrative in a sense, it's much more, like I said, just a collection of prints, and the prints are using the split of the comic to make some kind of symbolic or just visual formal associations. Like I don't know why, or I don't know what kind of content exactly you would get out of lining a Bunsen burner under the flowers. You could extrapolate stuff about chemicals and all of that, but that one doesn't seem so symbolically potent to me as this one, where obviously the pen is mightier than the sword, and you have the pencil and the bullet lining up, and really makes you think about which can do more damage. That one seems to have more, not narrative content, but like semantic content. It's saying something. I think this one's kind of just visual. Like here, this one again, you get this idea of someone being up late at night, someone who has insomnia and is looking at the bags under their eyes. So there's a story out of it, but it's also visually kind of formally compelling like that. Obviously, these are all about using tangents across the gutter to create meaning. But then in something like this, to me, it's purely visual. I don't see as much content as this. So I like the ones that have more content. But there are some as well, like this right here, where there is some meaning in it. Like she's got the little flower on her ear, but to me that's again pretty just formal. It's shifting the context of this down to here. So like Scott Finch kind of cued me in on that the things, you don't have to be working non-representationally to be working purely formally. And so you could just, in the same way that color is context dependent, symbol is context dependent as well. So seeing flower here versus seeing flower here, it's obviously the same thing represented, but represented in realistic modality and a cartoony modality. So that's all very interesting. I don't think it adds up to much, except other than this, maybe this character really likes that flower. But also I think, this is just so beautiful here, where the negative space, so playing these figure ground reversals, which is a kind of really purely shape-based, formal, non-representational type of strategy, is that this negative space, negative shape here in between the back of the neck and the ponytail makes the shape of the vase. And even these stray hairs make this vase kind of this elegant vase. Like if these would have carried up and this vase would have been a little bit more sculptural, I think that would have been really, really cool. But beautiful as is. And then really, really cool, again, talking about just purely formal things, is you get this in the back. Actually, I want to look at the titles of these. This is just study. This is study number 18. This is called A Lie. So I don't know how to make that, I don't know what to make of that title on this one. But you're playing the same trick, except here it's not the hair, it's the face that's making up the vase. And you don't have the flower earring. But you start combining two. It's like, does she have a sunflower on her ear? What's the lie that's being told about the sunflowers? I'm not sure, again, how to get the narrative content. But just really beautiful compositions throughout. Again, just visual comparisons. I don't think there's any content that's comparable between them other than the purely visual shapes, but it leads to really, really beautiful images. So this is a strange kind of category of comic, but I think it kind of exposes some of the potentials in comics that aren't being used as well as they could. But I don't know. I think a lot of people probably would view this as an art book that's collecting prints. And if that's not what you're into, then, you can flip through it within 2 minutes and kind of see it all. So if that's not your thing, then maybe the price tag on a book like this, I forget what it was, but probably like 20-something bucks for this, custom made risograph limited edition thing is probably a little expensive for your taste. But if you're into just the beauty of it and the formal play, and you can kind of see where this takes you, how this could be used elsewhere, then I think this is a book I'm really, really happy to have both of these. And I know this is obviously, like, Anuj is an illustrator, is probably how they make their money, but obviously has an interest in comics. I would really like to see something other than just things that work well on Instagram from this artist, but that's just a personal preference. That seems pretty well outside of what this artist's interests. Long form narrative doesn't seem to be what this person is interested in. So that's just my desire. Because the art's so good, I would love to see that in some kind of not long form, even like a 10-page story or something, just to see how this kind of approach works narratively would be cool. But awesome books nonetheless. If you have kind of the mindset for them in your collection, I would highly recommend these. But if you're looking for a story, then these aren't for you. But beautiful books. Anuj Shrestha, someone I very much look forward to anything else they do, and we'll be grabbing anything else they do. So thanks for checking this out with me. If you enjoy what we're doing here on the channel and you want to support us so we keep going, there's 2 ways to do that. The first is through our Patreon. Pretty much the Patreon, any of the money we make from that, there's 2 different tiers of engagement that get you different benefits. But the money from that just helps us buy the books that we review so we can keep this whole thing rolling. So that's much appreciated. And then if you really want to support Living the Line itself, then you want to support what Sean's doing with Living the Line Publishing. And so we'll go ahead and take a look at one of his projects now. The Exile by Eric Creek is a gorgeously illustrated Viking saga of revenge. Eric Creek calls it his Viking Western. It's about a guy who's been away on the warpath and is returning home to some family troubles that have to be resolved. And this is told in just this amazing, kind of 3-color art style that looks like old woodblock cuts or something. It's absolutely gorgeous book that you've got to pick up. Thanks for following along. Take it away, Jeff.
You want to see all these books? Smash that subscribe button and the like button and the bell, and then you get them.